disturbance of the Force. Great disturbance of the Force.
Hey, welcome, Star Wars fans, to take your first step into a larger world. This is episode 2 of the Jedi Sith Symposium, the Snoke theories, and we're going to be bringing you those theories. We have an international panel of Star Wars superfans you're about to meet. I am your host, Jay Sandlin, the creator of the novel comics and author of Outbreak Mutiny, Alternate History with Superheroes. It's available now on Amazon. Also with the Jedi Sith Library on Facebook. And let's meet our panelists. I'm going to start one by one. Let's go with Mr. Karasik back again this week. How are you, Mr. Karasik?
I'm doing well, Jay. Thanks for having me on. I am a lead presenter on channelstarwars.com. I hope you guys all check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I also am one of the editors on the Sith Library and Archives alongside Jay.
All right, and another editor we have with us back again this week is Mr. Ryan Hunter. Ryan, tell us what you're doing and where you are.
Hi guys, my name's Ryan Hunter, and I use the name Alden for our Jedi page. You find us on Facebook at the Jedi Library and Archives, and follow for some light side insight and also a certain point of view. Also, check out Captain Ska Liar Liar GE2017 on YouTube.
Nice. We'll link to that as well. Send it to me. And then we have the lady of the panel. We are stoked to have her here. This is Mara Jade herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm a Twitter role player, Master Jedi Mara. Also a hashtag game host with the Sci-Fi Tag. So check us out and play our games every week on Wednesday night. And in the meantime, hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk some Star Wars.
Absolutely. You're a blast to talk to about Star Wars from experience.
Thank you.
We've got the last Jedi with us as well, Luke Skywalker. Tell us where you're from.
Well, currently I'm in Ash 2, but other known as Skellig Michael. Right now, it's Ireland. It's doing okay. We haven't got any sieges for any First Orders yet, so my location hasn't been found, so we're okay for now. But yeah, most likely I'm on Twitter at Mentor Skywalker, and I've been role-playing for the last 7 years, I think, now. And, I mean, Luke has always been someone that, always stand above the rest to me. And, yeah, and, the Force is strong in my family.
You have it, we have it, everybody has it. The Force is an STD in the Star Wars galaxy. So, and I emphasized it, but we've got people here from the United States, we've got Ireland, and we've got Scotland on the panel today to give us our Snoke theories. We're going to let each panelist give about a 3-minute thesis with some corroborating evidence for their theory, and then their fellow panelists will have a moment to respond. Remember to check your mics when you're not presenting. And first up will be our veteran presenter. We've got Mr. Karasik.
I am indeed prepared.
All right, well, your time starts now.
Very well. Thanks, folks. Similar to my Rey theory from our previous symposium, my theory is that Snoke is an unknown character we've not yet encountered. I feel this for a couple reasons. First off, metatextually, I don't believe that Disney is going to spend $4 million to obtain a property and then recycle a character from previous canon. They made a clear point by discarding all of the expanded universe and making it all legendary that they do not want to sell content that we've already purchased. I believe that Disney does not want to make movies based on 30-year-old books, based on 15-year-old characters. We hear quite commonly that Snoke is Plagueis. This is my particular pet peeve. I don't care for it one bit, and not just as a Palpatine cosplayer, but also as a student of the lore. For Snoke to be Plagueis is going to discount two things, the character of Plagueis and the character of Sidious. First off, if Snoke is Plagueis, that means he's been alive all this time, and that would mean that Plagueis is a coward hiding out in ignominious silence for 30 years while his apprentice rules the galaxy under a plan that they concocted. Now, admittedly, this plan is non-canonical at this point. It's in the Legends book, Darth Plagueis, by James Luceno. But that said, all we know about Plagueis holds that he would never do such a thing. But more importantly, that would require Sidious to be not only a fool, but a weakling in the Force, because it means that he would not be able to tell alive from dead when it is most important for him to do so. It would mean that for 30 years at the height of his power, he would not be able to sense his own master through the Force. When using that same non-canonical source, we know that Sidious detected Vader across half the galaxy when Vader was only 7 years old. So I feel that it would not be true to the character of Sidious or the character of Plagueis. And more importantly, worst of all, if Plagueis is Snoke, then that means that Sidious was never actually the Sith Master. And that is a gross abuse of a character and a serious deviation from established canon. George Lucas himself has said that he feels that Palpatine is the most powerful Sith ever. I'm going to side with him on that, and not just because I'm a cosplayer, but also just because he's right. It seems to me most likely, if we're looking at legit theories, that Snoke is the unknown Dark Force presence in the unknown regions that Palpatine had sensed prior to his death, and presumably we'll see that he comes from that way. They've already opened the door to the unknown regions with Thrawn returning to canon, and of course they've had Timothy Zahn rewrite the Thrawn novel, so I'm hoping that one day they'll have James Luceno rewrite the Darth Plagueis novel. But that's my theory. When we get done here, I have a sort of a pet theory that I don't think is remotely plausible, but it's a lot of fun to talk about. Maybe we can touch on that towards the end. But that's my theory. I believe that Snoke is a Dark Force user, not a Sith, from the unknown regions. We'll see that in some way he was contacted or detected the presence of and came this way.
Hey, thank you, Karasik. Also loved your point about sensing the Master across the galaxy. Worth noting that canonically, Palpatine sensed Vader on Mustafar from Coruscant. So that would be another instance supporting what you said. Now,
well said, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right, moving along, we're going to have the next set of rebuttals. You've got about a minute to just respond to what Karasik said. Ryan, you'll have the floor first, and just remember to mute your mics when you're not on deck. Go ahead, Ryan. You've got a minute to respond.
This theory, I'm not really sure. The unknown regions, yeah, I'm fine with that. And I'm taking for you guys because I haven't actually read the book that he said something before his death, so I can take that into account and take it on board. To be quite honest with you, I'm not really sure about the Plagueis one either. For reasons that have already been stated, it would do a lot to harm the character of Palpatine, and I don't really think that that's something that Disney want to do because it's such a big part of the lore. As a Dark Force user, but I also see potential in there for elaboration. Was he perhaps a Jedi or something, or I don't know. There's a lot of clues. There's a lot of clues there in his physical description and his attitude, and that's what I'll be talking on when I have my chance.
All right, and moving on to Master Mara. Your response, 1 minute.
Initially, I was okay with just assuming that Snoke was just an unknown, and yes, from the unknown regions, but some things have come out in the Last Jedi trailer, which made me go back to part of the stuff in Revenge of the Sith, and also the book's aftermath for The Force Awakens. There are some clues in there that perhaps Disney is planning to rehash Emperor Palpatine. So I'll bring up my point soon, but yeah, I don't think it's Plagueis, but I'm not sure that it's entirely an unknown, because they'd have to start that story from scratch, and we don't have enough time in 2 movies to do that.
Very good point. And the last response from The Last Jedi. Master.
I mean, right now, as we're looking, and for this is a whole new generation, but also for people that have watched them all, and I think that mainly for Ryan's theory, I'm going to quickly lose names, but from his theory about Plagueis and that, I don't think like Disney are beyond the realms of bringing back stuff. Yes, they it's always nice to keep something new and fresh. But occasionally you can bring back like certain things. Like I know Ben Solo is like Ben Skywalker. They're keeping sometimes still little names. They're not the exact same. You can always have little throws to what was done, and they can always take little bits. But yeah, so I mean, I have something to talk about with Plagueis in regards to why he could possibly be Snoke, and then I can get into that later.
All right, well then we're going to move on now to the next Snoke theory, and that's going to be from Alrune himself, Mr. Ryan Hunter. Ryan, tell us real briefly, what thesis will you be presenting?
Well, I'll actually be presenting 3 theories, so I'll be as quick as I can in presenting each one.
You up your stopwatch then, if you're going to give me 3. And all right, your time begins now.
Yeah, I actually have 3 theories, and I'm actually basing them on what we do know of Snoke, his attitude and his physical description. To that end, he seems to be a lot more laid back than the Sith usually do, which obviously points that he's not a Sith. So what is he? My first thought was that he was a Grey Jedi, perhaps one of the Lost 20. I've done a bit of research, and to be quite honest with you, there's absolutely bugger all out there about the last 20, and I thought, well, it's a possibility, but I can't back it up, so I'll have another wee think about it. So I thought about it longer, and my second theory was, which actually is that he's Darth Vader. Now, before he's all busted laughing, let me just say this. If you look at Snoke, his injuries are on the same side as the melted, destroyed part of Vader's helmet. He's built, he's got blue eyes, the same as Anakin did, obviously, and Anakin was more or less redeemed, which means he'd have a more balanced point of view. The cybernetic implants, that might be a trick of the holo projector, that might be an adjustment. I'll leave that there and go on to the theory, which I think is the one that I should present as my main theory, and that is that he actually is a pure-blood Sith. Now, it's been mentioned that his skin is actually really, really pale, so that might actually be a good indication of perhaps not pure blood but a crossbreed, because we could put that forward to the reason as well why he doesn't have the face tentacles, but he does have the build. There is the possibility I've saw in other games and all that, pure blood Sith who have actually got hair. That's my favourite. That's the theory I'm putting forward, my main theory I'm putting forward. Also, I'll enhance that with the idea that he might actually be the first crossbreed pure blood Sith, perhaps Drapier and that Sith priestess. Obviously, maybe they had an offspring and he's been hanging about a wee bit longer than people usually do, and he's learned some things and he's mellowed out. That's the basis I've got for that theory. Who knows? Perhaps Sorgus, our sin, knows herself, only knows that secret, and that's more or less it.
All right, well, those are some interesting ideas. I like the idea of the Sith species coming into the canon. And we need to have some responses from your peers here, starting with Karasik.
I like a lot of what Ryan said there. I cannot disagree with the pureblood Sith species. I think that would be great. We don't, I believe, have a current canonical source that there indeed was a Sith species, and I would really like to see them clarify on that, particularly the half-breed issue. I have nothing to rebut on the Sith species, but I do have a thing or two to bring up about the Vader theory, in that it is... I feel it would be difficult for Vader to come back from being burned to ashes and becoming a Force ghost. That's kind of difficult to overcome. I can't agree that his eyes are blue because he's a hologram as we see him, and every part of him is blue. I can't go with the Vader theory, but again, Ryan didn't really support it that strongly, so I don't feel we're disagreeing on that. I can't get behind it. But I would love to see him be a pureblood Sith, because that would necessitate bringing in a lot more information about the species. Something else I would like to see is, if we're going to see him, as Mara mentioned earlier, that we don't have time to tell a whole new story. We don't have to necessarily tell the whole new story if we're creating a new character. We can just mention he's a pureblood Sith in this movie. And then we've got, comic books and television shows and side novels that we can tell that story in outside of the silver screen. So, I'm on board with him being a Sith. That would also go well with coming from the unknown regions, as I think he is. As long as he's not a Yuuzhan Vong, guys, I'll be happy.
Of course, the Sith home... let's not go there. Mara has...
Please.
The Sith homeworld of Morabond is very much canon, as Yoda visited it in the Clone Wars and saw the specter of Darth Bane, and the idea was that the Sith species had put together that world. All right, 1 minute rebuttal coming your way, Master Mara.
Well, I hate to bring this up because I know that there's so much mumbo jumbo coming from the Lucasfilm group and the Disney people to throw us off, but they did specifically state that there were no Sith in The Force Awakens. While that's a great theory and it would be nice to kind of add that whole element into it, would it be okay to just call those people liars for throwing us off by stating specifically that there were no Sith in The Force Awakens? As far as putting Vader into it, I would love that. I mean, I know that's not true, but I'd love to see Vader come back as a badass, because after Rogue One and seeing him so savage, it'd be nice to see, a little PTSD out of the Force Ghost and he comes back as Snoke. He's just a fun character to have in the movies.
You just want to have someone to give a gift to for Father-in-law's Day.
I'm already dead.
Now, hey, it may have been that with The Force Awakens there were no Sith only from a certain point of view.
Oh. Thanks, Obi-Wan.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
And speaking of a certain point of view, let's hear from the student of Obi-Wan, Master Skywalker. What say you to that theory in 1 minute?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't particularly want to fight my father again. I think we had round 1. I was beaten and had my hand took off. Round 2, I took his hand off, so we're pretty even. I don't think we need to have another duel with Darth Vader again, thanks. For the other theories, in terms of the Grey Jedi, I mean, I think myself and Mara obviously jump on the gun whoever mentions Grey Jedi, because Pablo Hidalgo, who's the continuity, constantly confirms that there actually is no sort of Grey Jedi. The term Grey Jedi does not exist in canon. It's just a word that fans have made up and kind of stuck to it. Is there something between the light and perhaps and the dark side, perhaps, but that balance, but it's not going to be known as Grey Jedi. And the last part, I mean, I do find, as someone who very actually is quite interested in kind of Old Republic and purebloods, but for me, I just don't see them just bringing that in just yet. I think they're going to leave that maybe for another thing that they're planning on doing. I don't think they're going to bring it in just yet.
All right, so we're going to go for our third Snoke thesis. Is going to come from Master Mara. Master Mara, what thesis will you be presenting?
Well, obviously being a Mara Jade fan, I am a book reader. So between the Aftermath series and the book for The Force Awakens, I've kind of had this inkling in the back of my mind that it could be actually Palpatine.
All right, I'm going to give you a 3-minute start now. Everybody mute your microphones, and Mara, you are on board.
Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Last Jedi, watch it 5 times, and then you put your microphone or the headphones on, and you pick that thing apart. And you do hear Palpatine's voice stating a dialogue from Revenge of the Sith. He says, "My mentor taught me everything about the Force," and then you hear him say, "even the nature of the dark side." So you go back to his dark side training, and he did learn from Pelagius, and he talked about coming back, how to prevent somebody from dying. And you also know that he killed Pelagius. There's no way that somebody as cunning as Palpatine would kill his master prior to learning that. He told Anakin that he didn't learn that fully. He needed his help. But he said that so Anakin wouldn't kill him too after learning that. And then you get into the books from the Aftermath series where it talks about him having a contingency plan for the Empire falling. His contingency plan was to send his acolytes out all over the universe to get Sith relics, bury them in Jakku, and blow it up. Well, so the Sith relics get put there. His acolytes actually all die. But who is to say that there wasn't some kind of backlash from that? And I think possibly part of the contingency that we don't know yet was somebody kind of putting him back together. It does talk about him, worrying about, interested in the outer regions. We know that that's going to come into play here in the next movie. They describe Snoke. He's beaten up. They say he's poorly reconstructed. He had a broken nose. He's got scars that are healing over. When Palpatine was thrown down that shaft, you saw an explosion. Well, the ship didn't explode. There was no damage to the ship. So it was possibly his life force coming out of the body that's sitting down there. So, there is still a chance that it is Palpatine. As much as everybody wants to deny it, he could have been put in one of those stupid legendary cloning things that we all hated from the EU, but it is a possibility. They are bringing little pieces of Legends and EU books back into canon, just little pieces. So I do think there's a possibility of them bringing him in, and they wouldn't have that much explanation as to who he is for the new fans.
All right, yeah, that's a very Dark Empire answer there. The essence transfer into like a clone body was the basis for Dark Empire. I bet our Palpatine cosplayer Karasik has a lot to say about that theory. We're gonna give you your minute, Karasik. What do you have to say?
Couple things. Yeah, I would love to see Palpatine come back. I'm not sure in that route. Dark Empire was absolutely my least favorite aspect of the previous canon, and here's why. While I do like Palpatine as a character, I feel that the first 6 movies are actually about him, and I can explain that at length. But really, bringing him back in Dark Empire through the clones, or really through any reason, it totally negates the noble sacrifice of Vader. So we see the entire original trilogy as the redemption of Lord Vader, followed immediately by, oh, never mind. He sacrificed himself to kill Palpatine. Palpatine's back in 6 months. Oh, and now he's young again. So it's nothing but an upgrade for the Emperor at the expense of the loss of a truly tragic figure in Star Wars. So, I don't know. The Palpatine in me, I would love to see him back in the films. It's not Ian McDiarmid, and that would disappoint me. Because if it's not, it's McDiarmid or GTFO, buddy. That's my policy on the Emperor. However, I do like that idea.
Let's have Ryan's rebuttal.
Like I said earlier, I haven't actually read the books that usually I've read. The only input I can give is from, I have actually read the Darth Plagueis. That's the only book I've read. And what I would like to point out is Palpatine actually went in and checked Plagueis. Like everybody, he would be more intelligent enough. He couldn't be duped. But it did say in the book that he went in to check to make sure he was dead, and it wasn't a Sith trick. Also, I think, if you remember, the way it actually happened, there's a big furore with stars wobbling and voices shouting. I do think that Plagueis has actually passed on, and I think that book has put it firmly down in black and white. So I don't actually right. So I can't comment on the Palpatine, but I'm definitely sure it isn't Plagueis.
I will give the last rebuttal there to the Last Jedi, Master Luke. Careful, this is your late wife talking.
Yeah, it's okay. We've kind of discussed this kind of beforehand about the Emperor and whatnot, but I agree about the whole thing of the redemption of Darth Vader is such a big part of the original trilogy. Like, those 3 films have such a wide so if you bring Palpatine back and put him into those clones, I absolutely hate that part of the EU. I think they don't need it in there. It doesn't always have to be bringing someone back just because it's fans. Fans want them back. Sometimes you can just let characters go because of, there was a reason why they're there, and Vader was supposed to redeem by overthrowing the Emperor. He's gone now. I think it's best just to kind of leave his story and go on to someone new. I'm going to be talking about Plagueis in a bit, but I'm going to also have another bit of a kind of a secret theory on who I think Snoke could be, and I'm really and I'll share both with you in a few seconds.
Yeah, it's about to be your turn anyway, and I think you just don't want a Dark Empire ending because you don't want to have to put on the high collar and be... you were rocking the 80s collar there. You would put Doctor Strange to shame in Dark Empire, Luke. We'll give you the last word here. We're going to get your theory. Just real briefly, state your thesis, and then I'll set your time.
Well, like I said, the first one was about it being Plagueis, and kind of just roughly around just because there's so much stuff kind of connecting him to it. And then I also have another kind of a secret theory, and kind of thinking that maybe you always hear about the wills and the guardians of the wills. So I think that's something we haven't touched on. So I'm going to hit the start button, get your time, and let's emphasize. No problem. Now. Okay. But the Guardians of the Wills, it's such an interesting story that we kind of really never truly developed. We got a bit of it in the Clone Wars, but they always mention about the Guardians of the Wills. And I'm thinking, I've looked at, a lot of that, the episode and how they're built, so he definitely does have the same build as one of the Wills. What happens if a Will would have turned against, because they're meant to be highly... these people were seeking, and what happens if you find one that turns out to be evil? Well, there could be a really bad disaster in terms of going up against the kind of a rogue will, and I think that's a very dangerous thing to come up against, something that he's not a Jedi, he's not a Sith, so he's something else, and that's another thing that Luke is saying, probably, maybe about Snoke. There's something so much bigger than just the light in the dark. My second part about Darth Plagueis, it's only kind of more theming, and kind of there's so much stuff, but especially in Aftermath, how they kind of mention about a lot of relics that were on Jakku. Well, there's a staff that, of course, Rey finds. And then Legends, but it could be brought back, is that there's the staff that she has. I mean, like, we never know how she finds it. She scavens everything. So I'm kind of wondering, because in Legends there's a staff that Plagueis held, and she turns into his actual lightsaber. So for a unique sort of twist for her to actually have Plagueis' lightsaber, I mean, that last scene of Luke with Rey holding out the lightsaber, maybe he's more concerned about the one she has on her back, not exactly the one she's holding out. So I would say that maybe if there's even more to that, because there's so much mystery around Jakku. There was even a rumor that there was an ancient temple buried underground and all these stuff. So there was so much mystery. Also in terms for Plagueis too, from John Williams' score, he always seems to play the same thing every time a character will reminisce. Like when we saw Vader's helmet, we got the Imperial March kind of theme. In Revenge of the Sith, when Emperor Palpatine is talking to Anakin about Plagueis, that sort of music is playing, and that same one repeats itself in The Force Awakens every time we see Snoke. So it could throw back to by music and theming of how that character could return, and the fact that all these relics that are somehow that were part of Plagueis is somehow a reason why he's back. And I mean, for Snoke to be looking for Rey, who actually has a lightsaber belonging to him, is also another reason as to why he's so determined to find this girl. Because as soon as he knows about a girl, everybody needs to know about this girl. Yeah.
I love what you said about the scepter. I'll just mention that the Scepter of Ragnos was the weapon in the Jedi Academy game. It was an ancient scepter used by a half-breed Sith Lord, Marka Ragnos, which had the power to give the Force to individuals. So I don't know if they're diving back into some of the Jedi LucasArts games with that. Let's get some responses to your awesome idea, though. I really like this Guardian of the Wills direction. Karasik, what's your response to that in a minute here?
I also like the Guardian of the Wills aspect of that. I think that'd be great. I would like to comment that if you look at the design of Rey's staff, it looks very much like a whole bunch of lightsabers stacked on top of each other, like recognizable. Oh, that's Maul's lightsaber. That's Windu's lightsaber. So there's, I'm not sure if it's, I'm sure it's not rather canonical that it is a stack of lightsabers, but the prop itself is very much modeled after a whole bunch of lightsabers in a stack. So very nice. I just got to come back to my earlier argument. I'm going to stand on Snoke. If Snoke is Plagueis, that completely neuters Darth Sidious and removes him as a Sith Master. And it takes so much agency away from the character. I just can't get behind it. It's Star Wars. If they do that, I'm going to love it. I'm going to watch the movie. I'll just be a little bit disappointed. The number of theories that every character in the new trilogy is basically a retread of existing characters doesn't appeal to me. But I would love for him to be a Will. Touching on that, I have huge problems with video game characters being included in canon, so I hope it's not the Scepter of Ragnos. And we can talk about Darth Revan on another time. But that's my response. I hope he's not Plagueis. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. That was well stated.
Well, where there's a will, there's a way. Ryan, what do you have to say about that last theory in a minute?
Obviously, I've already stated that I have big problems with the Plagueis theory, as it's already been put down and stated that he's quite literally dead. So that's more or less what I think of that one. The Wills one, though, that's something I actually hadn't thought. I haven't thought about. I have noticed that they're in a lot of the books, and they're actually mentioned in the Jedi Path as well, right at the end. And it has said that they do seem to be able to conquer death. So I think that is a really good theory and a workable one as well. It also fits in with how I actually see Snoke, his physical description, and his attitude, which, like I said, I based my own theory on. Yeah, I think that's definitely something to consider.
Let's let Master Mara take us out here with the last rebuttal here. You've got a minute to comment on your ex's speculation there.
Exes? I do really like the Guardian of the Wills theory. I mean, The Force Awakens opens with who? The Church of the Wills members sitting on Jakku with their own, little pod that gets wiped out by Kylo Ren. And we know he wiped them out probably because he knew exactly who they were. So there is a good possibility that that's all tied in. And I'm very happy with that theory. Plagueis, again, I still think, you have Palpatine who did kill him and make sure he was dead, and there's no way Palpatine didn't learn how to come back from death or stop somebody from dying. The one thing I will add is from the Force Awakens book, Snoke actually says that he watched the Empire rise and fall. So we don't know if this was up close, from afar, whatever, but the character has been around. He's not just going to be somebody that they pulled out.
And that is actually an excellent place to leave it, was the timeline of Snoke's existence. You're correct that he was someone who's been around a minute. He at least was in the Republic Age, or the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, the Dark Times, and then this new Republic era. So we're asking our listeners now, weigh in. What do you think of Snoke? A Will? Plagueis? Sidious? Is he somehow Darth Vader? We are so proud to have been with you today. We are on the Jedi and Sith Library Archives. Find us on Facebook. This is also coming to you from the Novel Comics YouTube page, where you can still find my book on Amazon of alternate history with superheroes. And lastly, we're proud to be hosted on the GWW, Geeks Worldwide Network. Check them out at thegww.com or at thegww on Twitter. And I'll leave it to my distinguished international panelist of Star Wars superfans. Just go down the line and give a sign-off, and anything else you'd like to plug, guys.
All right, I'll go first. Again, this is Brian Karasik. I'm with channelstarwars.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a regular podcast called the Star Wars Hour. In addition, I am one of the admins on the Sith Library and Archives, a 30,000-plus fan page with a curated collection of Sith culture, jokes, and just all-around Sithy stuff. So come see us out there. I've really enjoyed speaking with my illustrious co-panelists here, and I look forward to a round two on one of this, hopefully in the near future.
I'm Ryan. I'm known as Alden in our light side page, the Jedi Library and Archives, which you can visit for some light side insight and a certain point of view. Obviously, it's a Jedi point of view. And we would also like to check out Captain Scar, Liar Liar, GE2017 on YouTube, which I think I should send the link through, and that should be there somewhere. It's been great talking with you guys and learning, as well as giving the opportunity to talk about the things that I love, i.e. Star Wars. Thank you very much.
Master Mara?
Hey everybody, I'm Master Jedi Mara on Twitter. Come look for me, say hi, read the stories that Mentor Skywalker and I are writing. We're trying to, capture the essence of the new Star Wars Legends kind of books that aren't being written by anybody else. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we're doing our research. Also, I'm a host of Sci-Fi Tags on Wednesday nights. Hashtag with us, have a blast. We're a bunch of nerds who are mostly doing Star Wars and other tags, hashtag games on Wednesday. So come say hi.
Mr. Skywalker?
So, like Mara was saying, myself and her, we do put a lot of effort into our stories that we write, and we do very much like to get as accurate as we can to the characters as we can. We actually have a very high standard on that. But yeah, I'm also on Twitter, like at Mentor Skywalker. I had to restart my account at one stage before because it got hacked, but it's gotten up considerably amount again because of all the people that love and Star Wars, as well as Luke Skywalker himself, which I'm always happy to share even more and immerse myself more into this character that I've loved since I was a boy. And so ending on it, like, on such an amazing franchise and such a thing that inspires not just me but everybody that here today. We all have this connection of something that we all love, which is Star Wars. Yeah, the Force will be with you always.
All right. Hey, thank you, everybody, and check us out on our next episode. We'll be announcing the theory at the Jedi and Sith Library.com. And may the Force be with you.
Great disturbance to the Force. Great disturbance to the Force.